The tribunal chamber smelled like burnt ozone and regret. 36 species packed into those floating observation spheres, all of them wanting blood. My blood, specifically. I floated in the center, mag-cuffed, and trying very hard not to throw up in zero gravity. That would have been embarrassing. More embarrassing than being the only human in a room full of aliens who wanted to watch me get vaporized anyway. Kaela Frost. The head magistrate droned through her translator implant. She was a Quilnari, all flowing tentacles and way too many eyes. You stand accused of 18 counts of unauthorized planetary contact, 47 violations of the Preservation Act, and 1 count of criminal negligence resulting in the death of a protected megafauna specimen. I snorted. Couldn't help it. Wrong move. The observation spheres lit up with angry, chittering, buzzing, and what I'm pretty sure was the Hectarian equivalent of booing. One delegate actually threw something at the containment field. It bounced off with a sad little spark. Something amusing, human? The magistrate's translator made her sound even more irritated than her color-shifting skin suggested. Protected megafauna specimen, I repeated, shaking my head. You mean Grunt? His name was Grunt. Improper nomenclature does not negate your crimes. Right, sure. I tested the mag cuffs again. Still locked. So, let me get this straight. You're going to execute me because I fed a baby Raxian Dreadclaw when I was stationed on Talmar 5. And then, 12 years later, said Dreadclaw recognized me and didn't eat me when your people sent me there to die? The chamber erupted. I'd summarized it pretty accurately, apparently, and they didn't like being called out. The magistrate raised 4 tentacles for silence. You violated the most sacred law of the Galactic Concordance, non-interference with developing ecosystems. Your actions created an artificial bond with a predator that should have consumed you, according to natural order. Natural order? I laughed. Actually laughed. You want to talk about natural order? You people specifically chose Talmar 5 because of the Dreadclaws. You knew sending me there was a death sentence. That was the point. More angry noises from the peanut gallery. A Vexillion in Sphere 12 started pounding on the glass. The sentence was exile, not execution. The magistrate corrected primly. Exile to a planet where the dominant predator weighs 4 tons, has 6-inch claws, and considers humans a light snack. Tomato, tomato. Your flippant attitude does not serve you well, Kaela Frost. Yeah, well, neither did following your stupid regulations for 8 years. So here we are. I probably should have been more respectful. But honestly, I was tired. Tired of their bureaucracy, tired of their condescension, tired of being the only human in a galaxy that treated my entire species like we were some kind of useful pest. The magistrate consulted her data pad. Tentacles moving in patterns I'd learned meant she was stalling. Perhaps we should review the evidence again. For the record. Oh, good. Story time. I settled into the mag field as much as possible. This should be fun. The chamber lights dimmed. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a younger, significantly more optimistic version of me stepping off a transport shuttle onto Talmar 5 for the first time. God, I looked like such an idiot back then. Freshly graduated from the xenobiology program, top of my class, ready to make first contact and bridge the gap between species. I actually believed that garbage about humanity finding its place among the stars. Narrator voice kicked in. Some AI with way too much dramatic flair. Kaela Frost, age 22, assigned to Research Station Epsilon on Talmar 5. Her mission, catalog local flora and fauna, while maintaining strict non-interference protocols as mandated by concordance law. The hologram showed me setting, up equipment, taking samples, doing actual science. Those first few weeks had been incredible. Talmar 5 was gorgeous, all bioluminescent forests and crystal-clear water systems. The kind of place that makes you believe in cosmic purpose. Then the hollow me noticed something in the underbrush. "Oh no," I muttered in the present. "Here we go." The memory played out like watching a slow-motion disaster. Baby Dreadclaw, barely bigger than a terrier, caught in some kind of industrial netting, probably left by poachers, which, fun fact, the Concordance never bothered to prosecute despite their precious Preservation Act. The baby was dying. Anyone could see that. The netting had cut into his hide, and the wounds were infected. He had maybe hours left. Hollow-Me approached carefully, scanner out, running diagnostics. The readout showed what I already knew. Without intervention, the creature would die a slow, painful death. Subject Frost initiated contact despite clear protocols, the narrator announced. She administered medical aid and provided sustenance over a period of 6 weeks. The hologram fast-forwarded through my visits. Me, bringing rations, carefully cleaning wounds, staying just long enough to make sure he ate. The baby Dreadclaw went from barely moving to following me around like a scaly puppy. I'd named him Grunt, because that's the sound he made when he was happy. A low, rumbling grunt that vibrated through the ground. The bond created during this period, the narrator continued, represents a fundamental violation of natural development. The creature's behavior was irreversibly altered by human interference. "I saved his life," I said flatly. "He would have died." "Death is part of the natural cycle," the magistrate responded. "Your interference disrupted the ecosystem's balance." Because letting a baby die in agony is somehow more ethical than spending 5 minutes cutting him free and tossing him some protein bars. The observation? Spheres buzzed with discussion. I could see the delegates arguing among themselves, tentacles and appendages gesturing wildly. The hologram shifted forward, way forward. To 3 weeks ago, present-day me, considerably more cynical and with way more scars, standing in the same tribunal chamber. Different charges that time. I'd blown the whistle on a Concordance mining operation that was strip mining a planet with a developing civilization, saved about 300,000 lives, and destroyed several billion credits worth of corporate interests. The Concordance didn't like that much. For crimes against economic development and violation of corporate sovereignty, Holo Magistrate declared, Kaela Frost is hereby sentenced to exile on Talmar 5 for a period of no less than natural life. I remembered the moment perfectly. The cold certainty that they were killing me without actually admitting they were killing me. Talmar 5 had no human-compatible facilities anymore. The research station had been shut down years ago. Just me, dropped on a planet full of predators with nothing but a basic survival kit. The message was clear. Shut up and die quietly. The hologram showed my transport landing, me stepping out onto familiar soil, the ramp closing behind me with a hiss of finality. And then, because the universe has a twisted sense of humor, it showed what happened next. I'd barely made it 100 meters from the landing site when the ground started shaking. Not earthquake shaking, footstep shaking, Dreadclaw shaking. The creature that emerged from the tree line was massive. Fully grown, scarred from a dozen fights, absolutely terrifying. 6 tons of muscle, scale, and murder, with eyes that glowed amber in the fading light. Hollow-Me froze. Smart move, really. Running would have been pointless. The Dreadclaw approached slowly, each step deliberate. Its head lowered, nostrils flaring as it scented the air. This was it. This was how I died, torn apart by the dread. Exact predator they'd known would kill me. Except the Dreadclaw stopped about 3 meters away, tilted its massive head, made a sound I hadn't heard in 12 years, a low, rumbling grunt. "Oh," Hollow-Me whispered. "Grunt?" The tribunal chamber was dead silent, as everyone watched. This was the part they couldn't explain. The part that violated everything they thought they knew about animal behavior and ecosystem development. The Dreadclaw, this apex predator that should have been incapable of recognizing or caring about a creature it met as an infant over a decade ago, lowered itself to the ground. Slowly, carefully, it extended one massive claw, not to strike, to touch. Hollow Me, showing either incredible bravery or terminal stupidity, reached out and placed her hand on that claw. The hologram zoomed in on that moment. Human hand on alien talon. Two creatures that shouldn't have meant anything to each other, reconnecting across time and space. "This is the friend who fed me as a cub," I'd said softly, tears streaming down my face. "You remember?" Grunt's response was to carefully, gently, scoop me up and carry me to a cave system where he'd apparently been living. He brought me food, defended me from other predators, kept me alive in a hostile environment that should have killed me within days. For 3 weeks, I lived with a Dreadclaw, who, according to every scientific principle the Concordance held sacred, should have forgotten me the moment I left. But he didn't. The hologram ended. Lights came back up. The observation spheres were chaos, every delegate shouting over each other in a dozen different languages. The magistrate looked like she wanted to strangle me with her tentacles. "This bond you created has fundamentally altered a protected species' behavior patterns. The creature now demonstrates attachment behaviors that are completely unprecedented in Dreadclaw psychology." "So?" I shot back. "He's happy. I'm alive. Where's the problem?" "The problem," she hissed, color cycling through angry purples and reds, "is that your actions prove human beings are incapable of following the most basic conservation protocols. You cannot be trusted near developing worlds or protected species." "Because I saved a life? Because I showed basic compassion to a suffering creature? Because you interfered?" "Good," I shouted. The mag cuff sparked as I gestured violently. "Yeah, I interfered. I saw something dying, and I helped it. That's what humans do." "I'm not sorry." The chamber erupted again. Half the delegates were calling for immediate execution. The other half seemed genuinely confused, like the concept of helping something without calculating the ecological impact first was completely foreign. The magistrate raised her tentacles. "Order! We will have order!" It took several minutes for the chaos to settle. When it finally did, she turned all her eyes on me. "Kaela Frost, do you have anything to say in your defense?" I thought about it. Thought about Grunt, still down there on Talmar 5, probably wondering where his weird, hairless friend went. Thought about the look in his eyes when he recognized me, the gentle way he'd carried me, careful not to let his claws pierce my skin. Thought about every regulation I'd broken, every rule I'd bent, every time I'd chosen compassion over protocol. "Yeah," I said finally. "I do." I straightened up as much as the mag cuffs would allow, looked each delegate in their various eyes. "You want to execute me for forming a bond with another living creature, for showing kindness to something that was suffering, for being remembered by a friend I made 12 years ago. Fine, do it. But understand this. You're not punishing me for breaking your laws. You're punishing me for being human." Silence. "And if being human means I care more about a life right in front of me than some abstract concept of ecological purity, if it means I'd rather save a friend than follow a regulation, then yeah, I'm guilty. Execute me for that. See how that plays out for you." The magistrate's tentacles had gone very still. "Is that a threat?" "It's a prediction." I smiled, showing teeth. Because here's the thing about humans. We're pack animals, tribal. When you hurt one of us, the rest tend to notice, and they don't forget. "Earth has no military presence in this sector," she countered. "Not yet. I let that hang in the air. But you're about to make a martyr out of someone who saved a life, who showed compassion in a galaxy that seems to have forgotten what that means. Think about how that's going to look. Think about what story gets told." More muttering from the observation spheres, nervous muttering, this time. The human who died because she cared too much. I was pushing it now. But what did I have to lose? The woman executed for showing kindness, for being recognized by a friend. That's your legacy here? That's what you're voting for? The magistrate consulted with her fellow judges. Tentacles intertwined, creating patterns of communication I couldn't follow. Minutes stretched. The observation spheres buzzed with speculation. Finally, she turned back to me. This tribunal will adjourn for deliberation. You will be held in detention pending our decision. The mag field intensified, pulling me toward the exit. As I floated past the observation spheres, I caught glimpses of the delegates. Some looked angry, others thoughtful. A few, I swear, looked almost sympathetic. The holding cell was exactly as depressing as expected. White walls, force field door, nothing but a bench and my thoughts. I sat down hard, adrenaline finally wearing off. My hands were shaking. Everything I'd said in there, the bravado, the defiance, it was all true. But that didn't mean I wasn't terrified. They were probably going to kill me. Make an example. Show the galaxy. What happens when you put emotion over regulation? But at least Grunt was safe. They couldn't touch him without admitting their precious Preservation Act was flexible enough to allow for exceptions. And if nothing else, I'd made them think, made them question. Maybe that was enough. The force field shimmered. A guard appeared. Some species I didn't recognize. Multiple arms, compound eyes, the works. You have a visitor. It clicked through its translator. I sat up. What? Who? The force field dropped. A figure stepped through. Human. I almost fell off the bench. I hadn't seen another human in person in over 3 years. We were rare out here, scattered across a galaxy that mostly tolerated us. He was older, maybe 50s, with gray hair and the kind of weathered face that spoke of too many years in space. Military bearing, even in civilian clothes. Kaela Frost? He asked, extending a hand. I shook it, too stunned to speak. He smiled. Captain Marcus Webb, Earth Defense Coalition. I'm here to negotiate your release. My brain stuttered. The EDC? I didn't think Earth cared about individual citizens way out here. Normally we don't. He sat on the bench, casual as anything. But your case hit the news feeds. The woman sentenced to death by Dreadclaw, saved by the creature she rescued as a cub. It's quite the story. It's not a story. It's my life. I know. His expression went serious. And it's become a rallying point. Humans across the sector are watching this. The Concordance might not care about one life, but Earth takes care of its own. Hope flickered, dangerous and fragile. Can you actually do anything? They seem pretty set on making an example. Depends. He leaned forward. How do you feel about becoming a symbol? Of what? Of everything that makes humanity different from the rest of the galaxy. He grinned. See, the Concordance operates on logic and regulation. They've built an entire civilization on the principle that rules matter more than individuals. But humans? We're messy, emotional. We form bonds. We care. They see that as a weakness. Let them. Captain Webb's eyes glinted. Because while they've been busy building perfect societies with perfect laws, we've been building something stronger. Communities, families, connections that span species and planets and time. He stood, offering his hand again. The Concordance wants to punish you for being human. I say we show them exactly what that means. I took his hand, let him pull me up. What do you need me to do? Tell your story. All of it. Let the galaxy see what they're trying to destroy. The force field shimmered again. The guard appeared. Time's up. Captain Webb nodded. Think about it, Kaela. They want to make you a cautionary tale. Let's make you a legend instead. He left. I stood in that white cell, mind racing. A legend. Right. Because that wasn't terrifying at all. But as I sat back down, I thought about Grunt. About that moment when our hands touched, when recognition sparked across 12 years and a galaxy of difference. Maybe the captain was right. Maybe this was bigger than me. Maybe it was time the galaxy learned what humanity really meant. The force field hummed. I closed my eyes and waited for tomorrow, when everything would change. One way or another, the tribunal reconvened at dawn, or whatever passed for dawn on a space station that never saw real sunlight. The chronometer said 0600 hours. My body said it was way too early for potentially getting executed. Captain Webb had arranged for me to wear actual clothes instead of the detention jumpsuit. Small victory, but I'd take it. Navy blue suit, Earth insignia on the collar. A reminder that I wasn't just some random criminal. I represented something bigger. No pressure. The observation spheres were packed, even fuller than before. Apparently, word had spread. I spotted delegates from at least 50 different species, including a few I'd never seen before. In the back, isolated in their own sphere, 3 humans in EDC uniforms watched silently. The magistrate entered, tentacles rippling in what I'd learned was agitation. She didn't look happy. Good. Neither was I. This tribunal has reviewed the evidence and deliberated extensively, she announced. Her translator crackled with static. The case of Kaela Frost presents complications. Complications. That was one way to put it. However, the law is clear. Interference with protected ecosystems cannot be tolerated, regardless of intent or outcome. She paused, eyeing me with too many pupils. The penalty stands. Execution by neural disruption, to be carried out within the hour. The human sphere erupted. One of the officers was shouting, pounding on the containment glass. The noise was swallowed by the hum of the force fields, but I could read his lips. Political asylum, treaty violations, act of war. The magistrate ignored them. Does the condemned have final words? I opened my mouth, ready to deliver some defiant speech Webb and I had prepared. Something about humanity's place in the stars, about compassion versus regulation, about bonds that transcend species. But what came out was different. Can I ask you something first? My voice sounded steadier than I felt. The magistrate's tentacles coiled in surprise. Irregular. But, proceed. Why does it bother you so much? I gestured to the holographic display, now dark. Grunt didn't hurt anyone. He actually helped other researchers after I left. There are reports of him guiding lost expedition teams to safety, protecting survey crews from other predators. He became better because of our bond, not worse. The concern is not immediate harm, she replied stiffly. It is precedent. If we allow exceptions for emotional attachment, the entire framework of preservation collapses. Or maybe, I said slowly, your framework was flawed to begin with. The flawed. Chamber went silent. You could have heard a pin drop if pins made sound in zero gravity. Explain, the magistrate demanded. You treat ecosystems like machines. Input, output, cause and effect. Everything neat and predictable. I floated forward as far as the mag cuffs allowed. But life isn't like that. It adapts. It changes. It forms unexpected connections. That's not contamination. That's evolution. Sophistry will not save you. It's not sophistry. It's observation. I was warming up now, the words flowing. You've spent centuries trying to preserve things in amber, keeping them pure and untouched. But that's not preservation. That's stagnation. Real ecosystems are messy. They interact. They change each other. A Vexillian delegate leaned forward in his sphere, mandibles clicking rapidly. Others were listening too, actually listening. Grunt didn't become some broken aberration because I helped him, I continued. He became more than he would have been. Smarter, more adaptable, more capable of surviving in a changing environment. And yeah, he remembers kindness. He values friendship. How is that wrong? Because it is not natural, the magistrate insisted. but her color was shifting to uncertain yellows. "Says who?" I challenged. "You? Based on what? A couple centuries of observation? Species evolve over millions of years? How do you know this isn't exactly what was supposed to happen?" The Vexillian was chittering excitedly now, translating for his neighbors. I caught fragments. Unprecedented behavioral flexibility. Adaptive advantage. Symbiotic potential. The magistrate's tentacles were knotting themselves. This tribunal is not here to debate philosophy. No, you're here to execute someone for caring. I let that sink in. For showing compassion to a suffering creature. For being remembered by a friend. That's what you're really afraid of, isn't it? Not that I broke some rule. That I proved the rule was wrong. Enough? Is it enough? I pressed. Because I'm not the only human who's formed bonds with non-human species. There are dozens of cases. Hundreds, maybe. Every time, your response is punishment. Exile. Execution. You're not protecting ecosystems. You're protecting your ideology. The observation spheres erupted in debate. Delegates arguing, gesturing, some even appearing to agree with me. The neat consensus was fracturing. The magistrate raised multiple tentacles for order. Your rhetorical skills are noted, but they change nothing. The sentence stands. Then you're making a mistake. Captain Webb's voice cut through the chamber. He'd activated the external speaker on the human sphere, a mistake that Earth will not tolerate. All eyes turned to him. He stood at the front of the sphere, hands clasped behind his back. Every inch, the military officer. The Concordance has operated under the assumption that humanity will accept your rulings without question, he continued. That we're too scattered, too new to this galaxy to pose any real challenge. You're wrong. The magistrate's translator crackled. Is that a threat, Captain? It's a fact. Webb's expression was granite. Kaela Frost is an Earth citizen. She committed no crime under Earth law. Your attempt to execute her for an act of compassion constitutes an act of aggression against humanity itself. Ridiculous. She violated Concordance law within Concordance jurisdiction. On a planet Earth has territorial claims to. Webb smiled, without humor. Talmar 5 was surveyed by human explorers before the Concordance existed in this sector. We have documentation. We have precedent. And we have lawyers who are very, very good at finding loopholes in treaties. The magistrate's color cycled through alarmed oranges. You cannot be serious. Try me. Webb gestured to his fellow officers. Execute Kaela Frost. And tomorrow morning, Earth files formal sovereignty claims on 73 planets currently under Concordance protection. We'll tie you up in diplomatic proceedings for decades. Every preservation zone, every protected ecosystem, suddenly contested territory. Holy shit. He was bluffing. Had to be. Earth didn't have that kind of political capital. But the magistrate didn't know that. Her tentacles were doing complicated knots that probably meant, oh crap. In Quilnari body language, furthermore, Webb added, we'll release the full story to every news network in the galaxy. The woman executed for saving a life. The species punished for showing compassion. Let's see how that plays with your member worlds. Let's see how many citizens start questioning whether preservation laws are really about protection or just control. The chamber was pandemonium now. Delegates shouting, alarms blaring, the whole careful order of the tribunal collapsing into chaos. The magistrate looked like she wanted to sink into her podium and disappear. This is blackmail. This is diplomacy, Webb corrected. And here's my offer. Release Kaela Frost. Acknowledge that her actions, while technically violations, resulted in net positive outcomes. Establish a review committee to examine cases where strict preservation protocols may cause unnecessary harm. Do that, and Earth backs off. We maintain status quo. Everyone saves face. And if we refuse? Webb's smile went sharp. Then we find out just how committed the Concordance really is to its principles. Worth one human life? Maybe. Worth 73 planets and a galaxy-wide PR disaster? You tell me. The silence that followed was deafening. I floated there, mag-cuffed and stunned, watching the most powerful judicial body in the known galaxy get absolutely schooled by a human captain with a talent for strategic bluffing. The magistrate consulted with her fellow judges. The discussion was heated, tentacles flying in patterns that probably included several curse words. Minutes ticked by. The observation spheres buzzed with speculation. Finally, she turned back to us. Her color had settled into resigned grays. The tribunal acknowledges that this case presents unique circumstances requiring further examination. Each word sounded like it physically hurt. Execution is hereby stayed, pending review. Webb didn't smile, but his eyes gleamed with victory. And the charges? Suspended, conditional upon Kaela Frost's cooperation with the aforementioned review committee. The magistrate looked at me directly. You will remain available for questioning and testimony. You will not interfere with any ongoing preservation efforts. You will serve as a liaison between human and concordance scientific communities to establish new protocols for edge cases. Agreed? I found my voice. Agreed. Then this tribunal is adjourned. She raised her tentacles one final time. May we all learn from this complication. The magcuffs released. I floated free for the first time in weeks, rubbing my wrists where the metal had chafed. The human sphere's force field dropped. Webb and his officers floated over, grinning like they'd just won the lottery. That was incredible, I breathed. The territorial claims, the lawyers, all of it. How much of that was actually real? Webb laughed. About 30%. We do have some old survey data. The rest? Creative interpretation of colonial-era treaties and sheer audacity. And if they'd called your bluff? Then we'd have been in trouble. He clapped me on the shoulder. Good thing they blinked first. One of the other officers, a woman with commander's insignia, handed me a data pad. You're famous, by the way. The story broke 6 hours ago. Humans across the sector are rallying. There's even talk of establishing an advocacy group for cross-species bonds. I stared at the screen. News feeds, social media, forums, all exploding with number Free Kaela Frost and number Grunt Remembered. Images of me and Grunt, that moment of recognition, shared billions of times. I'm going to need a publicist, I muttered. Already got you one, Webb said. Earth takes care of its own, remember? You're not alone in this. The observation spheres were emptying, delegates floating out in clusters, still arguing. I caught sight of the Vexillian who'd been so interested earlier. He paused, mandibles clicking a pattern that the translator rendered as fascinating precedent. Much to consider. Then he was gone, and it was just us humans, floating in the empty tribunal chamber. What happens now? I asked. Webb pulled up a holographic display. Now? You help us write new rules. The Concordance agreed to a review committee. That means actual scientists, ethicists, representatives from various species, all sitting down to figure out when intervention is harmful and when it's necessary. You'll be our primary witness. Me? I'm not qualified to rewrite galactic law. You're the most qualified person alive. The commander said. You lived it. You proved that bonds between species can be beneficial. That's worth more than any amount of theoretical research. I thought about Grunt, still down on Talmar 5, probably confused about where I'd gone. Can I see him again? Webb nodded. That's actually part of the agreement. Ongoing observation of the human Dreadclaw bond, conducted by you under scientific supervision. They want data. We want you alive, and doing what you do best. Everybody wins. When? Transport leaves in 3 hours. He grinned. Thought you might ask. Your gear's already being loaded. 3 hours. Barely enough time to process everything that had happened. From death sentence, to galaxy-wide symbol, to scientific liaison, to apparently professional Dreadclaw friend. My life had gotten weird. We floated toward the exit, the tribunal chamber lights dimming behind us. As we passed through the doorway, I looked back one last time at the empty space where I'd nearly died. "Hey, Webb," I said. "Thanks. For everything." "Thank yourself," he replied. "You're the one who stood up there and changed minds. I just provided the leverage. Still, Earth sent you. That means something. It means humanity sticks together, even when we're scattered across the stars." He smiled. "That's our real strength, Kaela. Not technology or military might. Connection, loyalty, the willingness to fight for one of our own." The transport bay was bustling with activity. Crews loading supplies, ships coming and going, the constant hum of a space station that never slept. Our shuttle was waiting, sleek and fast, Earth insignia prominent on the hull. As we approached, I saw a crowd gathering. Humans, mostly, but other species too. They started cheering when they spotted me. Actual cheering, like I'd done something heroic instead of just surviving. Someone thrust a sign at me. "Grunt remembers, we remember." I laughed, overwhelmed. "This is insane. Get used to it," the commander said. "You're a symbol now. The human who proved we belong here. That our way of doing things, messy and emotional as it is, has value." We boarded the shuttle. As the ramp closed, I caught one last glimpse of the crowd. Still cheering, still holding signs, still believing that what happened here mattered. Maybe they were right. The shuttle lifted smoothly, artificial gravity kicking in as we cleared the station. Through the viewport, I watched the tribunal station recede, becoming just another speck of light among the stars. "Talmar 5 ETA is 18 hours, the pilot announced. "Might want to get some rest. It's been a long day." Rest. Right. Like I could sleep now, knowing what waited. But I tried anyway, settling into the passenger seat, letting the hum of the engines lull me into something approaching calm. Webb sat across from me, reviewing documents on his datapad. The commander was already asleep, head back, snoring softly. Somewhere between stars, I drifted off. I dreamed of a cave on Talmar 5, of amber eyes in the darkness, of a low, rumbling grunt that meant welcome home. When I woke, we were in orbit. The planet filled the viewport, all bioluminescent forests and crystal waters, exactly as I remembered. Beautiful and deadly, and home. "Ready?" Webb asked. I nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, let's do this." The landing was smooth, touching down near the old research station. The ramp opened, and familiar air rushed in. Warm, humid, smelling of growing things and wild spaces. I stepped out onto Talmar 5 soil for the second time. The first time, I'd been sentenced to die. This time, I was coming home. The ground shook, footsteps, heavy and deliberate. He emerged from the tree line exactly as before. Massive, scarred, terrifying. 6 tons of apex predator, eyes glowing in the afternoon light. Grunt. He stopped several meters away, head tilted, nostrils flaring, testing the air, making sure it was really me. I walked forward slowly, hands visible, heart pounding. Behind me, I heard Webb and the others exit the shuttle, heard the click of recording equipment starting up. Scientists, documenting everything. Let them. This moment was mine. Grunt lowered his head, brought it level with mine. Those amber eyes, intelligent and knowing, locked onto my face. I laughed, tears streaming, reached out and placed my hand on his snout, feeling the warm scales, the steady breath. "Hey, buddy," I whispered. "I'm back. They tried to keep me away, but I'm back." He pressed into my hand, gentle despite his size. Understanding, in whatever way Dreadclaws understood things, that we'd fought something together and won. Behind me, I heard the click of cameras, the murmur of voices, the scientists getting their data, the concordance getting their observations. But right now, in this moment, it was just me and Grunt. Two friends, reunited against the odds. A human and a Dreadclaw, proving that some bonds transcend species, time, and stupid regulations. The universe had tried to tear us apart. It failed. And that, I thought, as Grunt rumbled his contentment and I scratched behind his jaw ridge, that was very human indeed. The galaxy would learn. We form connections. We keep promises. We remember our friends. No matter what. Grunt shifted, gesturing with his head toward the cave system. An invitation. Home. I looked back at Webb. He nodded, understanding. This was my life now. Liaison between species, bridge between worlds, living proof that the Concordance's neat little rules couldn't contain the messy reality of life. I'll check in weekly, I called. Monthly reports, full documentation, all the science they want. We know, Webb called back. Go on, he's waiting. So I did. I walked into the forest beside a Dreadclaw who should have forgotten me, toward a future nobody planned for, carrying the weight of a galaxy's expectations and not caring one bit. Because some things matter more than rules. Some bonds are worth fighting for. And some friends, once made, last forever. Grunt grunted his agreement, and together we disappeared into the bioluminescent trees. Home.